The year is 2020, the worst year of all time for infinity and forever. Unless you live in New Zealand, or some third world country that has problems way bigger than coronavirus. If you did live in any of these countries, you probably had to be under a lockdown. In fact, some people might still be in a lockdown. And then you got the people who are like, yay, we're fine, and then they weren't fine. And of course, you have the lucky few who are in a lockdown and now get to go back to living life like normal people. So for the people who are quarantined or were quarantined, it left you with two options. Stream mass amounts of entertainment or the good old the video games. Yes. For anime fanatics, this was a dream come true. I get to be even more of a lazy piece of shit by being forced to stay home and watch my Chinese cartoons? Hell yeah! Even with coronavirus delaying a lot of highly anticipated shows, there are still some headline shows that were able to break through the clouds and bask their glory onto us degenerates. And you best believe I basked in it, okay? In 2020, I watched a lot of anime. I watched a lot of old shows. I watched a lot of recent stuff. And of course, I watched the brand new stuff that came out this year. This year showed us a lot about the anime industry. Interspecies Reviewer showed us that an anime didn't have to have a good plot to be good. It just needed hentai. Inspector showed us that supernatural shows are good as long as you can fit a crazy love triangle in it. Gleipnir showed us that supernatural shows are good as long as you can have a crazy bitch in it. Isaacin showed us that good anime still does exist. Smile Down the Runway was a fucking goated show. Love that shit. The webtoon shows went 0 for 2 this year, showing that just because something is not Japanese doesn't mean it'll be good when animated. Cannon Busters show just because something is not Japanese doesn't make it good at all. Food Wars sucked cock. Kaguya-sama good. Sing Yesterday to Me pulled a Babylon and self-imploded on itself towards the end of the show when it had done such a good job in the beginning. Simulator was much better than I thought. Love the manga. Best Girl returned in the final season of Origairu. Echidna was a thing. Please Crush Me With Your Thighs, and Fire Force Season 2 also existed. Alright, enough of the introduction pussy ass bullshit. Let's get into the top 10 already, baby. Hey, this show clean as fuck. Think like Ruby, but everything is also a human instead. I mean, sometimes it's a human that's also a gun, but it's more like everything is a thing, and then but it's also a human. Yeah. So you got Maka and Soul, right? Who can turn into a scythe, and they sort of just go around everywhere just killing stuff to harvest the souls of innocent demons and convert their souls into a death scythe, which is like, fuck! You're like, oh my god, the death scythe. And you got Death the Kid, who keep the fucking chopper on him like Tony, you know what I'm saying? You got Black Star, who's like the crazy extroverted guy who uses a big ass ninja star, and together they work for Death, and Death is like, hey y'all, I need you to collect 99 souls and kill a witch. And then they awaken an evil god who's like, I'm gonna destroy the world. And it's like, well, fuck, you know what I'm saying? Overall, very fun and wacky show. If you like stuff made by Studio Trigger, you'll probably like Soul Eater. Yuri on Ice, Welcome to the Ballroom, Iwakakeru. These are all shows where I literally have no background knowledge about what the hell they're about, yet I still find it interesting enough to watch it and stay invested in it. Humans always have the desire to learn, it's just what we choose to learn or how it is taught to us that differentiates us from one another. Smile Down the Runway is another one of these shows. I have literally no sense of fashion, how to dress, or anything about the fashion industry, how to be a runway model, what the fuck a Balenciaga is, okay, but give me an anime all about that? Yes sir, that's what the fuck I'm talking about, baby! The story follows Ikido Tsumura, an amateur fashion designer who ends up making some real poggers outfits for Chiyuki Fujito, a fashion model at his school who's often rebuked because of her height. Together they're like, bitch, we both being oppressed by the people around us. They don't believe in us, they think we gon' fail. We gon' win the Paris fashion show to show these little fucktards who the real top dogs are. Let's go! It's got personality, it's unique in that it's an anime that's about fashion, and it should be on your damn watch list. I watched a surprising amount of anime movies this year, much more than I did actual anime shows. Of course, I watched the classics like This Corner of the World, 5 Bajillion Years Per Second, Howl's Moving Castle, but I also watched a lot of recent stuff, both independent works and stuff tied to pre-existing franchises. One of the more recent movies that stuck out to me was Penguin Highway. I don't think this is the best movie I've ever watched by any means, or even within the top 10 best anime movies of all time, but it certainly stood out to me in terms of its creativeness and never-ending sense of that elementary school summer break vibe. It feels adventurous despite being limited to the confines of a small town. There's an air of wonder that circulates around it that tantalizes the viewer and keeps them glued to the screen. The movie is cute in concept, you know. One day a highway penguin shows up in a small town, and this grade school kid named Ayama tries to figure out where they came from, and this investigation leads him on a crazy and wacky adventure filled with things that are out of this world. I don't think this movie is necessarily revolutionary, nor is it something I think is particularly influential on the industry as a whole, but it has enough to where it makes for an enjoyable watching experience, even if it isn't on the same caliber as Spirited Away or Garden of Words. One of the reasons why I fucking hate anime but continue to watch it is it awakens things in you that you wish stayed dormant. Land of the Lustrous is the only time anything in this entire fucking universe has ever made me feel sexually attracted to fucking rocks. Like, I be having a good day and shit, you know, walking outside at a brisk pace, and then I see a piece of granite and I'm like, oh shit! Land of the Lustrous does this weird thing where it is completely 3D animated but manages to not look like a fucking piece of shit, unlike certain other 3D anime that I won't mention. Land of the Lustrous follows Phosphophyllite, a mineral, not a rock. There's a difference, but I'm still calling her a rock because that's easier to remember. Now, this rock would like to hang out with her cooler rock friends and fight against the Lunarians, but she can't because her hardness is too low and she's too fragile. Who are the Lunarians? Some alien motherfuckers who try to kill Phos and her rock friends to harvest the minerals that they're made out of to make jewelry. It's like Attack on Titan, but arguably darker. At least the Titans just ate people and didn't stitch them into grotesque abominations after murdering them. Anyway, the world is serene, yet there's a sense of despair permeating throughout it. Phos struggles to find her identity in this world, a world where she is hunted but can't do anything about it and sits at base watching her friends fight for her, some coming back pieces missing, others not at all. Phos's journey to try and find meaning in this bleak world sheds moments of beauty and color in what is generally a very disheartening atmosphere. It is in these moments when Land of the Lustrous is at its best and the advantages of its 3D animation get to fully unveil its capabilities as not only a beautiful show, but also serve as an indicator of the future of animation. Japanese people love to write about high schoolers. Almost every romantic show takes place in a high school. You have high school isekais, high school bands, high schools for cooking, schools for becoming superheroes. There's a school for everything you could ever ask for. So when I see a show that is about adult life in Japan instead of another student-focused show, I cop that shit instantaneous! Wave, Listen to Me is a refreshing sigh of relief to the anime industry. A show that focuses on the adult life in Sapporo, Japan, in which Minare Kora, a waitress at a restaurant, laments about her breakup over alcohol with a man she just met. Turns out, this man works for a radio station and the following day played her lamentation live on air to thousands of people over Sapporo. This public embarrassment leads Koto to find this man, who then offers to give her a radio show because of her quick wit, lightning fast tongue, and ability to talk for hours on end. This show is a treasure trove of comedy. I seriously cannot remember the last time I laughed this much while watching an anime. It is non-stop talking and action. It is extreme, but pokes fun at its outlandish and ridiculous plot points. The Eminem-style berating that Koto floods from her mouth while on air is hilarious and keeps the show energetic and hard to look away from. It is everything you could want from a show following the lives of adults in Japan. If you're looking for laughs or something lighthearted, I highly recommend this absolute banger of a show.
enter the rift. He catch a bullet for throwing a fist. His life got Nintendo, he cease and desist. I walk with a limp.
I would argue BNA is something that introduces you to being a furry, and B-Stars is what makes you question whether you seriously are a furry or not. I have so many questions about B-Stars, but honestly, they are all null and void when you take a look at how fucking good the writing for this show is. Like, I seriously might have become a furry this year, okay, with all these animal shows coming out. Not to mention B-Stars is getting a second season, so woo, I'm fucked. B-Stars is basically Zootopia. It's a world where all animals are personified, and like Zootopia, there's a taboo that the carnivores should not eat herbivores. This dynamic between predator and prey is what actually binds the two main characters together and gives meaning to the plot. Legoshi, a gray wolf who is introverted but isn't hated by all the students. Wait, students? Oh fuck, it's another school! Legoshi, a gray wolf who is fairly introverted but isn't hated by the school, has a fateful encounter with Haru, a rabbit who gets bullied on for being a hoe. Hey yo, chill, you said she a hoe? Hey, but she do be sucking dick for like 8 different dudes! Despite Haru's ostracization by the school, Legoshi still finds her mystical and starts to develop feelings for her despite not only the social boundaries that divide them, but also the moral boundaries, as Haru is an herbivore and Legoshi is a carnivore. Also, there's a badass panda in the show, and he's probably the only reason why you should watch the show. This is the best show of all time, period. There is never going to be a fantasy show that will ever top this show's setting. I'm sorry, there's just not, okay? Overlord? Eat my ass, okay? Slime Isekai? Die, okay? Shield Hero? Die even harder. Attack on Titan? You know, actually, hold on. You know, Attack on Titan's world building was pretty crazy. Not gonna lie. I'll give Attack on Titan a pass. But for real though, Made in Abyss is a real ass show made for real ass gangsters. This is one of the few fantasy shows where the setting actually has me actively engaged in it. It is intriguing. It feels like something I would read out of a novel. It feels so complete despite a lack of any backstory. Made in Abyss follows Rico, an orphan who lives in Orth, a town surrounding an abyss called the Abyss. The Abyss is home to treasures and creatures never seen anywhere else. Nobody has ever been able to record the bottom of the Abyss, so there's no telling what things lie in its deepest layers. This is because the deeper you go, the harder returning to the surface becomes. This is referred to as the Curse of the Abyss. Upon ascension, the cave raider will suffer ailments varying in strength depending on how deep you went. The bottom has never been recorded because at a particular depth, death is almost certain due to the severity of the curse. Rico's mother went missing while attempting to seek the deepest reaches of the abyss, assumed to be dead and left Rico orphaned. Rico, being an amateur cave diver, is only able to hover around the first layer of the abyss, where she discovers Reg, a robot boy with no recollection of who he is or how he ended up in the abyss. She takes Reg back to the orphanage and harbors him there, but then receives a balloon that came up from the abyss that allegedly is from her mother, saying that she had found the bottom and wants Rico to come find her. So Rico's like, alright, me and Reg, we bout to head out. And so begins their trip to the bottom of the abyss, fighting through unknown creatures and worlds so different from each other that every new layer they traverse through feels mesmerizing and lends itself to the amazing job that Kinema has done at making this world come to life and feel believable. Watch this shit, it is good as fuck. People actually out here slandering Amazon Video when Amazon Video has this show on it. This show alone is enough to warrant getting a Prime subscription. No cap. Princess Principal is like if James Bond was fucking cooler, okay? It is a steampunk show with anime girl secret agents and baller music. Must I say more? Heartbreak, pain, suffering. Banana Fish is a show that encapsulates a Western theme and romanticizes it with a Japanese flair. It is undeniably one of the all-time best shows in the history of Japanese animation. It's dirty, corrupt, and torments the viewer with a paradise that just doesn't exist. If you actually want to get fucked up emotionally, watch this show. It is just pain. The anime. Ash Lynx, a gangster in New York City, gets wrapped up in an international drug conspiracy. He obtained a dose of the drug from a mortally wounded man in the streets of New York City. The drug, named Banana Fish, reminds Ash of his brother, who was traumatized in the Vietnam War through something he also called banana fish. Together, Ash and Eiji Okamura, a reporter from Japan sent to report on street gangs, trace the origins of the drug and what it is capable of. Turns out the drug is tied to a much larger scheme on an international scale, leading to Ash and Eiji trying to bust the biggest drug heist in history. The show is not afraid to be brutal. It's ruthless. It symbolizes the severity of the situation the two have gotten themselves into. Yet despite all the cards being stacked against them, there is a hatred or a love that keeps the wheel turning. Interspecies reviewers! Woo! It's about time we get an actual fucking show in here. It's like The Lion King, but without anything from The Lion King. It's like LeBron James, because it's the GOAT, you know what I'm saying? It's like, nah, just kidding, fuck interspecies reviewers. The real #1 spot goes to Keijo! God damn! I always hear claims that sports anime are very linear, and for the most part, that's true. I find sports anime to be a snooze fest. Unless we're talking about this shit.
Oh! Shit! Get that shit out of here!
Every sports anime out there is not really that interesting to me. Shit's super duper boring and cringe to watch half the time. But Keijo took those expectations and stereotypes and obliterated them into the fucking moon. Now you might be wondering, what is Keijo? Well, Keijo is the name of the sport, and it's a sport conceived in the future in which women compete against each other in a game of wipeout by using their asses and breasts to knock the other players off a platform into the water. Last woman standing wins. As you can probably tell already, this is the best anime ever produced. Keijo is a very complex sport with a lot of tactics like, ass training, ass blasting, and titty hypnosis. They have fucking titty hypnosis. I can't. I fucking can't. How can a show be this fucking good? My expectations for 2021 are sky high. We have an absolute fucking Def Jam mosh pit deluxe of shows being released in 2021 due to being delayed by COVID and just how production timelines match up with each other. I'm talking about the end of Attack on Titan, which I don't know how the fuck they're gonna fit into 16 episodes considering where the manga is, okay? I'm talking Slime Season 2, Zombie Idols Part 2, Promise Shitterland, Dr. Stone, Quintuplets, Re:Zero, Cells at Work Season 2, another Cells at Work spin-off thing, Comfiness Part 2, My Hero Academia, Bully, that new SSS Gridman spin-off series, Shield Hero Season 2, Megalobox Part 2, Electric Boogaloo, Kaguya-sama Season 3, Cyberpunk 2077, like 10 Fate movies, and the first Princess Principal movie of like 6. There is no reason you should not be watching anime in 2021. There are just too many good shows coming out this year. Unless, of course, a certain pineapple assaulting fox is consuming all of your free time.
Bitch, I'm with the gang, ain't no shit you can do now. Talking on the roof, if I point, he gon' shoot now. When he shoot the Glock, you hear the boom, boom, boom sound. Used to call the Uber 2020, we in coops now. Oh, yes, sir, I am back up on my bullshit. Only time he pullin' one on me, April Fool's, bitch. Why your shorty wanna kick it? Liverpool shit. He don't want no smoke, he don't talk, that's a jewel stick. Getting hella money without working, that's a fool's wish. That's why every day I hit